Intense clashes have erupted along the Pakistan-Afghanistan border. Afghan forces launched attacks on Pakistani military posts, and these attacks comes after an alleged Pakistani airstrike in Kabul earlier this week. Afghanistan's Taliban-led government said that its forces launched an armed response against Pakistan along the shared border on Saturday. The Afghan military said in a statement on Saturday, in retaliation for airstrikes carried out by the Pakistani army on Kabul, our forces are engaged in heavy clashes against Pakistani security forces in various areas along the border. Unconfirmed reports citing Afghanistan's Ministry of Defense claimed that Taliban-led forces had captured multiple Pakistani army outposts along the Duran line, including in the volatile Kunar and Helmand provinces. Now, according to the Afghan Defense Ministry, Pakistani sides, facilities and equipment were destroyed in these attacks. There were also unconfirmed reports claiming casualties on both sides. Taliban officials from several border provinces, including Kunar, Nangarhar, Paktia, Khust and Helmand provinces confirmed that clashes were ongoing. Now later, Taliban Defense Ministry spokesperson said that the successful operations had ended at midnight. He warned Pakistan that if it violates Afghanistan's territory again, Afghanistan's armed forces will respond firmly. A senior official from Pakistan's Khyber Pakhtunkhwa province confirmed the clashes, saying Pakistani forces responded light firing first and then heavy artillery at 4 points along the border. He claimed that the Pakistani forces responded with heavy fire and shot down 3 Afghan quadcopters suspected of carrying explosives. On Thursday, 2 explosions were heard in the Afghan capital and another in the southeast of the country. The following day, the Taliban-run defense ministry blamed the attacks on Pakistan, accusing its neighbor of violating its sovereignty. Now, Islamabad did not confirm the attack, that it was behind Thursday's attacks, but called on Kabul to stop harboring the Pakistani Taliban on its soil. Iran has urged its neighbors, Afghanistan and Pakistan, to exercise restraint amid ongoing clashes. Top diplomat Abbas Araghchi said that stability between the countries contributes to regional stability. Qatar and Saudi Arabia have also expressed concerns over escalating tensions. Now, the latest clashes come as both sides are engaged in war of words. Islamabad accuses Afghanistan of failing to expel militants who use Afghan territory to launch attacks on Pakistan, an accusation denied by the authorities in Kabul. Pakistani Defense Minister Khwaja Mohammad Asif told Parliament on Thursday that several efforts to convince the Afghan Taliban to stop backing the TTP have failed, issuing a warning that Pakistan will not tolerate this any longer. Asif has also accused its other neighbor India of using Afghanistan to target Pakistan. Now, these clashes are happening when Afghan Foreign Minister Amir Khan Muttaqi is in India. Pakistan has lodged formal objections with Afghanistan's ambassador in Islamabad over India-Afghan joint statement during the visit, especially the mention of Jammu and Kashmir. It has also objected to remarks by Muttaqi that terrorism is an internal problem of Pakistan. And to discuss more, we're now being joined by Lieutenant Colonel Daniel L. Davis from Sterling in Virginia. He is a retired military expert and a host of Daniel Davis Deep Dive on YouTube. Thank you so much. It's always a pleasure to have you on the broadcast.
Glad to be here.
Now, according to Afghanistan, the escalation have ended. How do you analyze the escalations as of now? We don't know how Pakistan will respond, but so far that is the information. And how do you analyze it?
Yeah, the situation continues to deteriorate. I mean, there was lots of trouble, especially in 2024, where the Pakistan government claims that the Afghan government is hosting and supporting the Pakistan Taliban, known as the TTP, and the Afghan government, of course, denies having done that. but the Pakistan government doesn't agree. And Pakistan is suffering significant terrorist strikes in its territory, and that certainly is putting a lot of pressure on its government. They had over 2,500 people killed in hundreds of terrorist strikes in 2024. It had a bit of a lull, and there was some good negotiations going on at a pretty high level between Pakistan and Afghanistan, with China being a mediator in April of this year, but that kind of broke down. And then now here we've seen kind of an escalation and a spike where Pakistan is using airstrikes on, at least allegedly, on Afghan territory. And now then the Afghanistan side striking back at those points you showed on your screen a minute ago. So I don't imagine that this is going to go away anytime soon, because you have almost intractable positions of the two sides claiming that the other is completely in the wrong.
Right, and since you have had experience not just in these combat zones, you have worked even in Afghanistan, if you could just help us understand and analyze the importance of this Durand line that they have spoken of.
I do, yeah, it's just really amazing the dramatic turnaround. I had 2 combat deployments in Afghanistan, and during both the times I was there, one of the American and the Afghan government at the time's biggest problem and headache was that the Pakistan government was giving safe haven to the Afghan Taliban inside Pakistan. And there was always actually a competition between the Taliban Afghan Taliban and the Pakistan Taliban, even back then. So they were not all one, and they were seen as separate entities. And now then the situation has completely reversed, where now it's being alleged that the Pakistan Taliban is using Afghanistan as a safe haven for targets against Pakistan. So it's just really amazing how this has turned around.
Right, and considering if we get to know any escalations, we go further with that, how much of a regional threat are these clashes?
Well, you know what? You have to see this in view of the bigger things, and I doubt that it's just coincidental that this escalation is coming at the same time there is renewed tensions between India and Pakistan, and then now that India is being much more friendly to Afghanistan, and they have renewed diplomatic engagements for the first time in a long time. I can't imagine that those things are not connected. So the more friendly India and Afghanistan get, I think that's going to raise the concerns and the fears on the Pakistan side, and I'm afraid these things could continue to escalate. And we can't lose sight of the fact that Pakistan does have a huge terrorism problem inside of its, I think it's called the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa province, and in Baluchistan, lots of violence that they have not been able to get hold of, and it looks like they're looking for any kind of solution, even if it's on the other side of the border.
Right, and we know so far that Iran and Qatar have called for some kind of mediation in these clashes, but what is the potential of other regions being involved in these clashes, if at all it escalates?
Right now, I think that it's not in danger of regionally escalating, because I think it's kind of a real, primarily a match between Afghanistan and Pakistan and the various versions of the Taliban on either side of that line. So I don't think that it's a big risk at the moment. The only concern I have is that there's the fear that Pakistan can say, well, I think this is just a second front, and we're being surrounded on all sides by pro-Indian groups, and so maybe they want to strike out hard and possibly even could strike in a different direction over on the Indian side, perhaps, just because they feel like that's a concerted effort. That's the one fear that we have, that this thing could escalate further, is that Pakistan feels like it's being hemmed in. Hopefully that the people, whether it's China or Qatar or the Saudis, et cetera, all of these folks can tamp this down, because nobody is served if this thing goes much wider.
And so thanks so much for analyzing the whole thing. Now, of course, we're looking forward to any update that we get on that. And how is U.S. looking to these clashes? How do you analyze that?
Yeah, I think right now it just the United States has so many things on its plate. You have lots of issues, in Venezuela potentially. Obviously, lots of issues going on in Israel between Hamas and that ceasefire that's going on there. Lots of stuff going. Zelensky was talking to President Trump today. They're trying to bring peace there. This is probably not raising. It's on the radar, but it's not very high up on there. And I think the United States would rather it be handled by regional actors.
Right, and of course, of course, we're looking at if this escalates again. It seems that, of course, we're not gonna have other regional countries get into this. But how serious of a matter, as of now, do you think? We know that Afghanistan they were getting all these military equipments to the place. We know that Pakistan has not responded, or we do not know yet. But how much escalation do you think it could actually become into?
You know, I doubt that either side, either Pakistan or Afghanistan, want to get into an outright war against each other. So I think that they have incentive to send a message. And I think that so far the clashes have been, whether it's the alleged Pakistan airstrikes into Kabul, which they claim, at least the reports are, that Pakistan was targeting some of the TTP leaders inside of Kabul and Paktika, I believe, was the other province. Who knows whether that's the case, but that's what's being reported right now. But they are trying to get at what they view as the terrorist issue on their Khyber Pakhtunkhwa province. So that's what they're really focused on. So they don't want to add another front to that, but they are trying to take care of it. So I think that there's enough incentive right now to keep this from escalating too far.
And that being said, of course, these escalations, now it has escalated, and these problems have been happening. We have been seeing these attacks going on in the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa region, and of course, we'll have to wait and see if we see any escalations or it does get solved. But thank you so much for joining us on the show and giving your perspective on that.
Always my pleasure. Thank you.